All right, here we go. Another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, Fadi Kuder, and today we are joined with Yasmin Mansouri, Languages of Life.
When we deal with interpretation and translations, again, most of our clients are first responders. So we very seldomly will we deal with someone that just needs minor assistance from the police for a good thing, you know? When dealing with these things and when we get documents, I mostly have to proofread the documents to make sure that it's court ready and all that stuff. And one of the cases that I went to originally was of a new family that was here, and the child had been abused. And because CAS was involved, they were not calling the police. So there was at this time, I was not the CEO of Languages of Life. I was actively working, but it was just very tough to see that a father would put their own children in that situation. And when I went to court, like I saw the pictures and everything. And I remember at that time, it was a case where he tried to be the doctor for that kid as well and fix what he had caused damage on. And it was just, it takes me back, and it is very challenging to see that he tried to do stitches on his own kid. And so at that point, I'm like, who is the voice for that child? When that child, the only thing a child knows is mom and dad, right? And they're my safe haven. So let alone a family coming here and you and this kid and, you know, and some people have mental health issues and there's like all those things too. But it's nice to know that I'm in a position where I can actually help someone if they need help. And I have the ability to say, we're doing this for free and I don't want to charge them and I don't want to do that. You know, like I have that control, which is nice because I genuinely do it because I love doing it, you know?
It's definitely rewarding, like to just be able to like change somebody's life. You're always at like a fork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like this is kind of our life. We're always at a fork when we're making a decision.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah.
One way and then
and it's nice when it's two, but sometimes there's more than two and you're kind of like, what way to go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's really nice when you feel like you've changed somebody's life in a good, positive way, or at least like alleviated some stress or some sort of anxiety that they were having. I can't imagine just being in a country that I just don't speak the language and then all of a sudden getting arrested and like having to.
That's one thing I have an issue with. Like for myself, I really find that it's very challenging that they're brought here and they're not given any instructions.
I mean, I've been arrested once in a country where I didn't speak the language, about it. We'll leave that story to a different day. But it's definitely, at the end of the day, it's nerve-wracking. Like just to be able to like, what are you talking about? Like what? No idea. Like I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. All I knew is I'm just getting booked and I have no idea why, what's going on, where am I going?
Was it down south?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No. Again, I wasn't speaking the language. I'll just put it that way. Okay. And I'll just,
because I know that happens and like sometimes they want money and then they'll let you go. Like it's very small.
Yeah. I tried that. I mean, I was born in Egypt. Like for me, this is normal. Yeah.
Money.
You want some smoke?
Well, you know what? That happens here.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they think that that's genuinely the way. And then the officer will get insulted. And that's why sometimes after the translation and interpretation, I'll always give the officer like, hey, like this is normal for them, but it's not for you. Like where they come from, this is okay. You know, so it's a cultural shock for them and the person dealing with that family.
I mean, they thought about the only way that they can get out of the situation, which they've been sort of ingrained in their mind for the last 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that's true. So.
Let's figure that out, So interpretation for the police, translation for also you do that for courts and stuff like that.
Everything.
What else do you guys have on the docket as far as like services that you provide?
So sometimes people are creating apps. They want things translated in different languages. The city will require some translations on documents that are being sent out. Like for COVID, there was a lot of like information pamphlets or like informative emails that were being sent out and they have to be translated into different languages. Schools sometimes require documents. So we deal with we don't just deal with police force, but our main service, because we provide that, ongoing active 911 dispatch, is the police. But we have a vast, like, different clientele. It's crazy. Doctors, lawyers, translations, we do everything as well. Citywide, non-citywide.
How would someone, like, if someone wants to get involved working for you, like, what do they do? They just reach out to you?
They'll send a CV. I mean, HR will vet through the CVs to see if they have what we're looking for, and, you know, if they have experience, if they don't have experience, what their goal is with working with Languages of Life. And then from there, they'll set up an interview, and it's pretty straightforward. Some of our interpreters are certified. Some of them are not certified. Depending on what you bring to the table, we will assign you to the jobs that...
And speaking of certified, how do they go and get certified? Is that like...
So through our organization, they can be certified for Languages of Life and for our clients. We don't provide a Canada-wide certification. A lot of interpreters will go through the court system, and they'll get certified through court. That way they can become a court interpreter as well as through us. So it's different depending on what certification they want to get and where they want to work. That certification will permit them to work in specific areas.
It's very interesting. Again, like I said, languages in general are really interesting because it's the way that we express ourselves. It's the way that we show ourselves to the world, right? Like it's one thing to sit there in silence. It's another to tell people what you're thinking, what you're feeling, how you're feeling, what's going on. Without that, we just don't have any communication. So you guys are touching a very, very important part of our being.
Yeah. My grandfather always said to my mom that every language you know is one identity. Like it's one person. You're like one person that speaks this language. So every time, some of my interpreters, like, they wow me because they speak like Arabic, Spanish, German, and like not even languages that are very similar. Like if you look at the root of some languages, such as Hebrew and French and Arabic, you see a lot of, or even Urdu, you see a lot of similarities. Through years, there has been that correlation and that languages have kind of evolved, but the root languages are similar. But when you see interpreters, they speak so many different, and like, one of my interpreters, I admire her. She speaks so many different languages. And I'm just like, how? And you know that they genuinely have to have a passion to do that.
Well, that's the thing. Is I read this somewhere. I can't remember where exactly. But like once you pass 3,
it becomes easier.
It becomes so much easier.
Because you know the roots.
What's happening is like you building sort of like those neurons in your brain. Like the path for languages are very similar.
Yep.
Right? Like I know, for example, if I'm like, I want to say talk or milk or whatever, like it's sit there and then like you start associating it and then you just now have the same vocabulary in like 6 different languages, 7 different languages.
Yeah.
So just like the learning path gets created, then it's a lot easier. It's really just after the 3rd one that you'll start seeing the difference.
And you'll understand more too, just because you don't speak them. Like you'll see someone speaking and you can understand the context because of those root words that you know in the languages.
And like there was a study done a while back, and again, I wish I could tell you like where exactly I read it, that people that speak more than 4 or 5 languages, they start like their interpretation of body language becomes even 1,000 times better.
Yeah,
because again, like they're seeing it in communication is the same.
Yep.
Like we're people at the end of the day. We have certain ways to communicate.
Yeah.
You know, when you're looking at dogs, it's the same way they communicate. When you're looking at cats, it's the same way they communicate.
Yeah.
We're one species with different languages, with different sort of backgrounds. But at the end of the day, we're communicating the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And when you look at like the sentence structure, for example, in like English or Arabic, whatever, it's very similar.
Similar, yeah.
Right? Like you cannot say something unless you are putting a word, a verb, like, you know what I mean? Like it just makes sense.
Yep.
So it becomes a little bit easier after like 3 or 4 languages. Just like it opens up.
Like right now, if I have people speaking Arabic in front of me, like I can understand what they're saying based on specific words in the context. If someone's speaking Urdu, I can understand briefly what they're saying. Very similar to Farsi. So yeah, it goes, and it's also being very close to it and being in that field constantly. You see it, you hear it, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I open and the officer will send me, or someone will send me a document and they're like, I don't know what this is, or an audio. And I listen to it. I'm like, okay, that's EWE, EWE language. It's a language. But And people don't even know that that language exists in Africa. So it's just based on familiarizing yourself with it and being in that industry so long that you. So I'm sure people who speak 4 dialects or 4 languages, it becomes easier to adapt to more.
It just opens up a whole other sort of area in your brain. We're like, okay, like I can add the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and like it just, and for some people it's a passion. Like they just genuinely want to know languages. They want to understand other human beings.
It's fun too.
It is. It's a lot of fun, like to whip up, a sentence somewhere. And people are like,
people are looking at you. Yeah, like there was a Instagram video I was looking at. There was this Canadian gentleman that was in Korea, and they were talking about him after serving him soup or like a bowl, and I think they were talking about him, and he just responded to them in their dialect, in their language, and they looked at him like,
I had that happening before.
Yes, so there you go.
Yeah, this is actually a funny story. I'm not going to tell you the language just because I don't want to insult anybody. It wasn't Arabic, but it was a different language, and I was helping my ex at the time. I was helping her prep for like a women's show.
Okay.
And like it's a women's show. Most of the people that are going to be there, 99% of the time, are going to be women, right? So like I'm helping her out. She used to work at a plastic surgeon. I'm bringing stuff into the elevator at the Shackman Center or whatever. And then I'm leaving, and I came back with more stuff. And then the 2 individuals got in, and word for word, what they said, word for word. And what is this gay Arab doing at a women's show in that language, whatever that language is? And I responded with something insulting.
Were they like,
and the 2 of them are just like, again, in their language, the 2 of them were just like looking at each other like, what?
Uh-oh.
Have a nice day. And I walked out of the elevator. Later on in the day, I came back to pick up the stuff to help her out because she was alone.
Please tell me they apologized.
No, they avoided me at all costs.
Oh my God. I would have been like, sorry.
Yeah, they avoided me completely at all costs. And then I went downstairs, dropped off the stuff, and then one of them, not the one that was talking about me, the other one,
okay,
the one that was listening.
Okay.
That
on the receiving end.
On the receiving end, the actually saw me in the parking lot, and he's just like,
oh, he. And it was a he.
Both of them. They're both he's.
And they were talking.
That's what boggled my mind.
I would have been like, and what are you doing here?
Because again, they're just like, they're supposedly there as a vendors, but like I could be a vendor.
But how do you,
right? I'm bringing stuff. Like I'm a vendor too. Why are you one thing and I'm not? Like
that teaches you one lesson, everyone. No judging.
No judging. At the end of the day, zero judgment. So he apologized. The second guy apologized. Not the one that actually said it, but the one that receiving it. And you could tell, like, maybe I didn't notice it because I was in kind of the heat of the moment, but you could tell he was uncomfortable with the comment that his buddy made.
Okay, well, I think, was he uncomfortable because they got caught? Or was he uncomfortable because he was...
You know what?
Because that happened to me, too.
It could be that he was uncomfortable that he got caught.
Yeah, he's like, oh, crap.
And I think if he didn't get caught, he would have been okay with it.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have known.
Exactly.
That happened to me, too. We were at the gym when Good Life was on... Where was it? Hunt Club?
Mm-hmm.
And it was it on Hunt Club? No, on Bank Street. Walkley. There used to be a Good Life on Walkley, and I used to work out there. And I had locked everything in the locker, and it was winter time. And I'm like, oh, darn, I forgot my headphones. I'm like, okay, I have my keys in my pocket. Either I go back to the locker, get my jacket, go get the headphones, go back, put it in the locker, or I just go like this, run to the car, and come back. I'm like, I'm going to run to the car. So I head out, and it's cold. It's winter time. 2 people that opened the door spoke Farsi, and they didn't know that I speak Farsi. And they were like, oh, look at this girl. I don't know what they said. I'm not even going to repeat it, but part of it was that she thinks she can come out like this and all that stuff. Anyways, and I responded to them. And similar to you, it wasn't really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, and when I came back and they were working out, they kind of looked at me like, oh, and they continued doing their thing. I think they didn't know. I think they were too embarrassed to say anything at that point. But
I mean, you could also pass for Lebanese, so that's probably...
I get that a lot. I've gotten, people have said like, oh, are you from Pakistan? Are you Arab? Arab is always, especially because of my name. Everyone's like, oh, are you Arab? And I'm like, no. I'm Pakistani, Arab, and Persian, Afghani sometimes.
Yeah. I was going to invite the folks that are watching for any sort of stories like this. Please put it in the comment. If you had a story where someone said something about you in another language, thought that you didn't, just let us know.
That'll be
entertain us. We would love to read it.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys?
So for Languages of Life, we're working on, I wanted to do an event where there was, every year we have an event. During COVID, it was on pause. But what we wanted to do was newcomers that come to Canada, they don't have a lot of experience to offer. And employers look for a lot of experience. We also, on the other end of things, we have a lot of individuals that need help and assistance. And they're newcomers as well. So what I like to do is connect the two through our organization. So we would give them a little bit of training for the ones who do speak English, to the point where you can help another newcomer with the doctor's office or with minor things. That is one of the projects that we're working on, and hopefully it will take off in January. So if you are a newcomer, or if you've been here for several years and you're not able to find a job because you don't have experience under your belt, that's fine. But come to our organization, send your CV, let us know that you're willing to help newcomers, and we will connect the two and kind of give, that way one will get experience, the other will get assistance with the service. So that is one thing that we're working on for sure. But going more outside of Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, we're looking at that as well.
Expanding.
Yeah.
I love how you keep saying it, CV versus resume. But that's, again, it's because majority of the people that you pander to, they're brand newcomers. You know it as CV. You don't know it as resume.
No, and the other day I had someone say curriculum vitae. I was like, for a moment it clicked. I'm like, all I know is CV. So, I mean, I won't go through them all, but that's what I usually see as an attachment. Is
like the second that you said CV, I'm like, all I could think of is my dad.
Really?
That's how he knows it. Like one time I said, oh, I'm submitting my resume, and he's like, what's that?
Really?
He had no idea what it meant.
Really? I thought that was more of the newer word than
resume.
Yeah.
It is a newer word.
No, not resume. CV. I thought that was the more,
more British.
Really?
Than anything. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. So resume.
Very, very common in that part of the world, like in the East kind of part of the world, because again,
yeah,
British colony for whatever many years.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you get. Yeah. Again, Yasmin, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So much to learn about languages. 172, it still baffles my mind that you're able to deliver that service.
Yeah.
In 172 language. For folks that are watching, again, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more episodes about this, more businesses around the city, please don't forget to comment. Let us know if there's any business that you would think of that could benefit from being on the podcast, or at least, just something interesting that we want to kind of bring out to the folks here in Ottawa. Let us know. Don't forget to hit the like. This was fun.
Yes.
There's a lot more fun episodes like this. So hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell icon, because more and more episodes like this come out, and you want to know, you want to be in the know once they come out. Thanks again.